Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to Mathematics with Shahab Yakoob. So now we are starting with this foundation course. And what is this foundation course all about? So this foundation course, this is a course that will transition you from O-level maths all the way to AS level math. Now let's first talk about what exactly is there in AS level maths. I'll be talking mostly in English and a little bit of Urdu. So now, when we study either O-level math or IGCSE or any other equivalent, whether it's 4024, whether it's 0580, so now there are certain things that we focus on. We focus on arithmetic, we focus on algebra, a little bit of geometry. We talk about trigonometry. We talk about graphs, graphical solution of equations. We talk about vectors, transformation, and graphs and sketches. We talk about number pattern and different things like this. Yes, we also talk about statistics. And last but not the least, that is probability. So technically, I have listed everything down over here that we study in O-level maths. So let me remind you again. It's about arithmetic, it's about algebra, geometry, trigonometry, graphs and sketches, vectors, transformation, number pattern. That's also part of like arithmetic and algebra, statistics, and probability. Now, people find few topics difficult, people find few topics easy. Arithmetic, this is about numbers, it's about ratios, it's about percentages, it's about fractions. We talked about time and things like that. Many things that fall under the category of arithmetic. When we talk about algebra, we talk about expansion, factorization, then quadratic formula, and so on, things like that. And indices also falls into this category. And yes, there is proportionality and things like that. When we talk about geometry, we talk about shapes. And geometry, let me categorize it with mensuration. And let me write mensuration over here. So geometry, mensuration, shapes, whether it's a 2D shape, whether it's a 3D shape. We talk about angle properties. We talk about triangles, squares, quadrilateral, rectangle, trapezium, and so on. We talk about cylinder. We talk about pyramid, sphere, and so on. Trigonometry, we talk about sine, cos, tan, then sine rule for non-right angle triangle and cosine rule. Graphs and sketches, either we draw or we draw a sketch, and we call it graphical solution of equations. Vectors, we talked about column vectors. We talked about symbolic vector. This is vector A, this is vector B, start till the end, that is A plus B. Then in geometry, We can also say that we talk about similarity. Coming back to transformation, a tricky chapter. It's about reflection, rotation, translation, and last but not the least, definitely not the least, that is rotation. सबसे tough जो conceptually है, that is transformation. Number pattern, we talk about like a pattern, something like in which the difference is constant 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Something like 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square, 5 square, and so on. So, different pattern, we talk about that. Statistics, we talk about bar chart, we talk about pie chart, we talk about histogram, we talk about CF curve, we talk about median, lower quartile, upper quartile, interquartile range, and some reasonings. Probability, we talk about tree diagram, and we talk about sample space, possibility space diagram with replacement, without replacement, and so on. So that is basically an overview of O-level maths. Now let's move on to this thing, which is the syllabus. And let me just grab this thing, hold for a second. And when we talk about the syllabus for Cambridge International ASA Level Maths 9709, so this is the syllabus code that we use. This is 9709, that is the syllabus code. Use the syllabus for exams in 2026, 2027. There was a change in the year 2020, more or less it's the same after that. Exams are available in June and November series, and in India, it's available in March also. Now, when we talk about what are the key concepts that they ask, so let's read through it very comfortably. Key concepts are essential ideas that help students develop a deep understanding of the subject and make links between different aspects. So let's underline the main thing. That is, make link between different aspects. Now, this is the beginning of AS level maths. That is, now there is linkage between different aspects, and that is what this foundation course is all about. Key concepts may open up new ways of thinking about, understanding, or interpreting the important things to be learned. So it's about understanding, it's about thinking, it's about interpretation. Good teaching and learning will incorporate and reinforce a subject key concepts to help students gain. We talk about a greater depth as well as breadth of subject knowledge. So we go deeper into this. Confidence, especially in applying knowledge and skills in new situations. Yes, they will give you a little bit out of the box. The vocabulary to discuss this subject conceptually and show how different aspects link together. That is this thing, make links between different aspects. A level of mastery of that subject to help them enter higher education. So basically, it's about O levels. It's about AS and A2. AS is the first year, A2 is the second year. And then it's about going into university. So it's always paying forward. So now what are the different things that they focus on? They focus on algebra, the heart and soul. They focus on geometrical techniques. They focus on calculus. This is something new. This was not there in O-level maths. They focus on mechanical models. They focus on statistical methods. Now let's read these one by one. Algebra, this is an essential tool which supports and expresses mathematical reasoning and provides a mean to generalize across a number of contexts. What is algebra? The introduction of X, quadratics, word problems. So that is the heart and soul. Geometrical techniques, algebraic representation also describes a spatial relationship. That means with the help of different circles, line, how does it feel? Line intersecting a circle. Let me write it down. Line intersecting a circle. So now you have to imagine things. You talk about a circle, you talk about a line. So a line and a circle could be intersecting at 2 points. It could be intersecting at one point. It could be not intersecting at all. So that is what they mean by geometrical techniques. The concept of the radius is perpendicular to tangent at the point of contact. Got the idea? Calculus. This is new. This is a fundamental element which describes change in dynamic situations and underline the link between functions and graphs. So we cannot go deeper into this at this moment. Mechanical models. These explain and predict how particles and objects move. Let's say there is a ball that is thrown up. It reaches a maximum height. It was thrown with a speed of 20 meters per second. So this is like mechanics. This is like physics. This is optional if you want to take an A2, yes or no. Statistical method. This is about S1 and S2. This is statistics. Quantify and model aspects of the world around us. Probability theory predicts how chance events might proceed. So this is O-level probability that is being advanced and things like that. Now, what we are doing is that we are focusing on this thing. That is, in the first year, we study pure maths 1, which is paper 1, and there are 8 topics in it. Quadratics, functions, coordinate geometry, circular measure, trigonometry, series, differentiation, integration. And then when we talk about first year, we study paper 5, that is probability and stats 1, and there are 5 major topics in it. Now, don't be deceived by just the numbering. It's only 8 topics. These topics are very much in depth. So what we do in the first year is that we study paper 1 and paper 5 in the first year. So that is the approach that we will take. Paper 1 and paper 5 in the first year, that is pure mathematics and probability and statistics that we study in the first year. So this is written over here. This is AS level maths. And we'll go into the breakdown on this. When we move ahead to A level maths, if we have done paper 5, either we can do paper 4 or we can do paper 6. Now, let me explain this thing. So what we do is that P1, S1 in the first year in AS level. So this is what you study in the first year. Now, in A2 level, you study P3, which is paper 3. It's written over here, paper 3. This is paper 3, that is constant. And then you have a choice. Either you further study S1, so that becomes S2, or you study something like physics, that is called M1, that is for later on. That is not our concern at the moment, just giving you an idea. So either you study P3, S2, or you study P3, M1. So now this is, let me label each one of them. This is paper 1. This is paper 1. This is paper 5. This is in AS level. And then when we move onwards, either we study paper 3 and paper 6, that is S2 is paper 6, or we study paper 3 and we study paper 4 together. So that is the approach that we take. Now, this is too much in details. Let's look at the topic and then let's relate it with what is there in O levels that is linked with this. So now this is the first chapter. Let me just go over it very superficially. Carry out the process of completing the square. That is also done in O-level maths, but it is in much more advanced form. Now, these are examples. Example to locate the vertex of the graph, to sketch the graph, and so on. This is just one example. That's not the whole thing. Then it says, find the discriminant of a quadratic polynomial. Use the discriminant to determine the number of real roots, and so on. Solve quadratic equations. Quadratic inequality, this is new in one unknown. Solve by substitution a pair of simultaneous equation of which one is linear, one is quadratic. Recognize and solve equations in x which are quadratic in some function of x. Now over here, when we study this thing, this is A levels. But this topic one, quadratics, this is linked with algebra. This is linked with middle term factorization. So this is middle term factorization. This is linked with a square minus b square. What does that become? A plus b, a minus b. This is linked with sketch. This is linked with the quadratic formula ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So x is equals to minus b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac, the whole thing divided by 2a. And this thing inside over here, this thing, this is called the discriminant. Why is it called the discriminant? We will talk about it later. So just giving you an idea that how much of this thing is related with O levels. Then we have a topic like functions. Then we have a topic like coordinate geometry, what you have studied so far. We talk about circular measure, something to do with arcs, sectors, and so on. Coordinate geometry, this time it's about lines. It's about circle. Yes, circle also has an equation. Then we talk about trigonometry. So we draw some sketch, we solve some identity, we solve some equation based upon tricks. So this is totally new as compared to O-level maths. We talk about series. So series is like AP, GP, binomial. This is an extension of number pattern. Then we talk about differentiation. This is totally new. We talk about integration. This is totally new. So now I have only talked about things that are related with P1. Now, first of all, let's just breathe a little bit. And let me write over here. So someone asked this question that do we have to write down everything? No, I'll share the PDF. Okay, that's the first thing. मैं ये share करूंगा. Don't worry about that. Second thing people are asking is that some questions. So I wanted to ask which students give paper 2 in AS Maths. Very nice question. When we talk about this thing, P1 and P2, if someone gives this option, P2 is like 60% of P3, that's only AS level, there is no A level. So that is why in Pakistan, we don't study this option. We study P1, S1 in the first year, and then either we study P3, M1, and we study P3, S2 in the second year. I teach all of these 5 components, Alhamdulillah. So it doesn't make a difference whether you study M1 or whether you study S2. It depends on your choice. Yes, one thing I can add. Let me add one thing. That is, when we talk about people who are studying commerce, people who are studying pre-medical, so for them, it is wiser that they study S1 and then S2. People who are doing engineering, people who are interested in architecture, people who are interested in some kind of CS, AI, cybersecurity, all these things, as such, doesn't make a difference. Whether you study S1 in the first year and M1 in the second year, perfectly good. Whether you study S1 in the first year, S2 in the second year, perfectly good. It doesn't make a difference. Yes, from the student perspective, not everyone will accept this. I personally find that students find S2 to be a bit easier. M1 is very interesting. S2 is very interesting. They both are very interesting. But M1, some people, they find it difficult. So the easy way is S1 and S2. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm teaching both of them. So that's not an issue. So I think I've answered this question. Someone asked this question, is P1 S1 is compulsory, or can we take M1 instead of P1? Another nice question. Now, the answer to this is, in AS level, I would recommend you to take P1 S1. Why? Because then you would have a flavor of S1, and then it's easier for you to decide in A2 level whether you are interested in M1 or S2. If you take P1 M1 in the first year, then this option will be gone. So you're only left with P3 S1 in the second year. So therefore, this is the better option. Take P1 S1 in the first year. So I think those people who have asked this thing on text by in WhatsApp, I have answered this thing. Okay. So if I take maths and physics, then I would have to give M1? No. Again, you don't have to. Let me add a page. I already said so. Let me write it again. So now, again, P1, S1, that is year one. So P1, P3, my bad, P3, S2, P3, M1. This one is for commerce, science, medicine, engineering, CS, architecture. Anyone can take this. Doesn't make a difference. As far as P3 M1 is concerned, so commerce people cannot take it. Science people can take it, medicine people can take it, engineering, CS, architecture can take it, but commerce people, they would have a very hard time doing M1 because the basics of physics is not there. So M1 is tough. So right now, let's just focus from the O levels perspective. So now, if you look at the image that was shared earlier, and let me share that image again over here so that you know exactly what I'm talking about. And let me just copy this thing. Okay. So I'm just copying this from my phone and let me paste it. Okay. So now this is the objective of this foundation course. Of course, it's a transition. And then those people who are studying online, of course, they can start with the classes right after in the second week of August. So those people who were asking me about online classes, so AS level group or A2 level group, that would start in second week of August. That is for later on. So right now, what I'm focusing on is this thing. Let's focus on algebra, coordinate geometry, sketches, geometry, trigonometry, 2D and 3D mensuration, and transformation. And our focus is what is required in AS level maths. So we will focus only on that part. Got the idea? So for AS level maths, what thing is required? Technically for P1. For pure math 1, what is required? We are just focusing on that. So today, I'll start a bit with coordinate geometry. So this is session 1, the basics that we all talked about. And let's start with the basics of coordinate geometry. And someone asked this question again, why don't we take P1 and not P2? I think I've answered that. That is P1, P2. You cannot go ahead with other components. That the thing closes over there. So that's only 1 year math. That's not AS level maths. That's AS level maths. So you should study P1, S1 in the first year, and then P3 and something in the next year. So I think I've answered every single question over here. And any other question if you would like to ask. So I'll just pause for a second. Any other question? Okay, I think it's all good. So let me just have a look. Who are the people over here? And this thing is over here. So now, mashallah, say all the people are here. Okay, ji. Chalo ji. Bismillah karte hain. So now let's just talk about a bit of coordinate geometry. So coordinate geometry, something very, very harmless, very, very easy. Yes, it is, provided you're not making any mistake. Coordinate geometry, it may sound lame. It's about coordinates. It's about a grid. It's about XY plane. It's about two dimensions. It's about incline, steepness, slope. It's about distance between 2 points. It's about equation of line. It's about what you call perpendicular parallel lines. It's about perpendicular lines. It can be about triangles also. It is about perpendicular bisector. So let me write over here. Perpendicular, that's the symbol I use, perpendicular bisector. So more or less, this is what coordinate geometry is all about. So now let me draw a grid. The y-axis, the x-axis, and let me draw 2 points. Let me mark over here. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, this is 7. And similarly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let me mark a point over here in red color, which is 1, 1. It's not drawn to scale. That is A. Let me mark a point over here that is 4. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, comma 5. That is point B. Now, if I am interested in finding the distance between A and B, so if I am interested in finding the distance between A and B, there are two things that will come to your mind. First of all, you will write the coordinate A 1, comma 1. You will write the coordinate of B, which is 4, comma 5. It's just a rough diagram, so don't worry about accuracy. We would use the distance formula, and everyone remembers this formula. That's a good thing. AB. Symbolically, I can write x2 minus x1 whole square, y2 minus y1 whole square, the whole thing under root. So anything could be x1, anything could be y1. That means if I can say this is x1, y1, this could be x2, y2, something like this. So now if I use this formula, this is 1 minus 4 whole square. This is 1 minus 5 whole square under root. This is negative 3 square. This is negative 4 square. Don't forget the under root. It's your choice. You want to draw the whole thing or just this much. That is 9. That is 16 square root. 9 plus 16 is 25 square root. That comes out to be 5 units. Got the idea? Now, this distance formula, how was it derived? So technically, what happened is that this is 1, this is 4. So I'm moving 1 unit, 2 units, and 3 units to the right. Similarly, this is this y coordinate 1, y coordinate 5. I'm moving 4 units up. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Got the idea? So this is 4 units up. This is 3 units over here. This is a right angle triangle. Got the idea? Because it's horizontal movement and vertical movement. So therefore, this distance AB, let me write this thing as D. So this D is like the hypotenuse. This thing is like the vertical. This thing is like the horizontal. Vertical can be written as opposite with respect to if there was an angle over here, and this horizontal is written as adjacent. So now let me go to the WhatsApp group and let me write over here. Let me write over here, make a poll, and everyone is there over here. So I'll be creating a poll over here. So we are linking distance formula with Pythagoras. Got the idea? So this is like Pythagoras theorem and makes sense. And yes, and wow. So now there are two options, and let me write it. So distance formula with Pythagoras makes sense, and this as well. So now I can find D as this. So D is 3 square, D is 4 square, this is D square, that is Pythagoras. And therefore D square is 9 plus 16, that is 25. Therefore D is square root of 25. We only take the positive value because it's a length. So now the new thing that some people got the idea. That is this thing. Let me get a sticker over here. I think, no, not this thing, the other one. Yeah. So now this thing that we got over here is this thing, that when we talk about distance formula, so distance formula is derived from Pythagoras theorem. Now remember, when we read the syllabus, that is linking concepts together. So many concepts would be linked in a similar manner. Got the idea? So now let's take this same example further. And let me again draw the grid. And what I can do is that we can talk about gradient. We all know what is gradient, so no big deal over here. This is A, 1, comma 1. This is B, I think it was 4, comma 5. This horizontal over here, that is of 3 units. It's not drawn to scale. And this vertical over here, that is 4 units. So this thing is 3 units. This thing is 4 units. This is the perpendicular. And then if I say, what is the slope? What is the incline? What is the gradient? So again, two approaches. This A is 1, comma 1. B is 4, comma 5. Use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now look at this thing like this. So this is y2. Let me just remove this. This is like y2. This is y1. So this is y2, y1. And then x2, x1, x2, x1 like this. So this is 1 minus 5. And keep the order the same. Don't change the order because there is no squaring. So minus sign will create a lot of trouble. Divided by 1 minus 4. 1 minus 5 is minus 4. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. That comes out to be 4 over 3. Again, I can even say this thing is rise over run. This is like climbing a ladder. You are going up like this. Got the idea? From A till B, you are going up. So now rise is 4 units and run is 3. So you get the exact same answer. Another sticker that I can put over here. That is about this thing. That when we talk about this particular thing, so slope, that is the formula, or the formula is the same thing as rise over run. So you can use any which. Now let's talk about a little bit of a very famous question. And people, they get confused a lot. Now let me draw this thing. And let me draw this line, and people really get confused. X plus y equals to 10. And I'm interested in drawing a sketch. Now, let me hear from you how the sketch can be drawn. So again, let me write down the pole. There is no hurry. So the second pole that is coming up, and I want every single person to take part in it, a drawing, a line. So it will be easier if you would vote on that poll. That is uh, plug in points, something like y equals mx plus c, mx, and then there is a plus, and then there is a c, or something else. Plug-in points, that means draw a table of values, table of values. Okay, so the poll is there. Now vote. There I've given you 3 options. You can only choose one. Someone said y is equals to mx plus c. Someone said table of values, y is equals to mx plus c. No one is saying something else. Okay. ठीक है. Now, both options are good. It's not about right or wrong. It's about how you want to draw it. So if I choose this thing, which is table of values, so what I'll do is that I'll write x, I'll write y, I'll write 0. So y comes out to be 10. I'll write 1, y comes out to be 9. I'll write 2, y comes out to be 8. These values are adding up to 10. If I talk about the standard form of equation of line, that is y is equals to mx plus c. So y on the left hand side, and this is minus x plus 10. So now even if I do this, I know that the slope is negative. And I know that the y-intercept is positive. So yes, based upon this, what I can do is that I can say, let me draw it over here. The slope is negative, y-intercept is positive, so the line would be like this. Because this one has a negative slope. This one has a positive y-intercept. And this value is 10, and that's how this is drawn using option 2. Now, 17 people for y is equals to mx plus c, 5 people for table of values, and then there are some who are not voting at all. People, it won't cost you a penny. कोई आपको charge नहीं कर रहा, you can still vote. People, क्या हो गया? ठीक है, vote करे people. So now over here, this is one good option. Now let me choose the option of something else. मैं something else वाला option choose कर रहा हूं. What is that option? If I say x plus y equals to 10, Let me choose two values. Let x is equals to 0. Therefore, 0 plus y equals to 10. Y comes out to be 10. So the coordinate is 0, comma 10. And let me choose the option let y is equals to 0. So therefore, x plus 0 equals to 10. So therefore, x is 10. Therefore, I'll choose the option 10, comma 0. Got the idea? So basically, this is the y-intercept. When x is 0, you get the y-intercept. When x is 0, you get the y-intercept. This one is the x-intercept. That means y is equals to 0. When y is 0, that's the y-intercept. So now let me write it once again. Line meets y-axis. Therefore, x is 0. Let me write once again line. No, I'm using blue color. I'm very, very particular about color. Line meets x-axis. Therefore, y is 0. Focus on this. Line meets y-axis. X is 0, the other coordinate. Line meets x-axis. Y coordinate is 0. So I love this option of something else. So what I'll do is that I'll draw a grid over here and I'll mark down 2 points. This point, that is 0, comma 10. That is this thing. This is 0, comma 10. When x is 0, y is 10. And this point over here, that is 10, comma 0. That is the next point. And then join these two things. So now join these two things like this. And let me choose a different color so that it doesn't get melt into this. Like this. That is how the line is drawn. Is this thing clear? So there were three options. I explained in all three options. Over here, plug in 1 point. The other one, this is I personally don't like it. This is more of graph grid type option. So over here, this is exact. So I don't like this. This one is good. Standard form, y is equals to mx plus c. The slope is negative. Y-intercept is positive. So this is good. This is good. But this one, I love this one the most, which no one voted for. And let me vote myself. So that is something else. You talk about x-intercept, you talk about y-intercept, and that's how you get this. So now, is this all good? All clear? I want some likes over here. And let's see. The third concept, the something else. Is this all good, all clear? Just put a tick mark over here. Now let's do one thing else. What is that? Let me draw this grid once again. And let me ask you a question. Now this time I'm drawing it a bit bigger. And this green line was something like this. It's not drawn to scale. Keep that in mind. Something like this. What I want to do is that a very simple basic question. This is y-axis. This is x-axis. This is 10 over here. This is 10 over here. This is 0 over here. This is 90-degree. If I ask you area of triangle, and this is O, this is A, this is B, area of triangle OAB. So you would say this is half base into height. That is half into 10 into 10. That comes out to be 50 square units or unit square. Both things are good. 50 square units, 50 units square. Got the idea? Now, once this is done, let me ask you a tricky question. And that tricky question is this thing. Let me choose a color. Orange looks good. Keep in mind, the diagram is not drawn to scale. So let me just go back. and it's not drawn to scale. If I ask you, what is this distance D? D is the perpendicular distance from origin to the line AB. Now, what I can do is that I want you to think. So, again, one other poll. If I ask you this thing, distance from origin to line, option one, that is trigonometry. Option two is coordinate geometry. Option three, something new. Which one do you prefer? It could be coordinate geometry, it could be trigonometry. No one is voting for trigonometry. Okay, someone did 3, 2, 5. Okay, you are confusing yourself between the two. Okay, okay. So now let's get started. What I can do is that let me first focus on trigonometry. So option one, that is, where is the color? There it is. Option one, that is trigonometry. So if I draw a small triangle over here, not a very big one, and just over here, and this line, green line, is going like this, right? It's a green line. And this angle over here, it's an isosceles triangle, correct? This is 10 units. This is 10 units. It's an isosceles right angle triangle. This is isosceles right angled triangle. Therefore, this angle is 45 degrees. This angle is 45 degrees. Got the idea? Now, if I draw this orange line, where is the orange line? There is the orange line. If I draw this orange line like this, and if I mark this thing as D, so now this thing is O, this is A, this is B. Let me label this point as C. So focus on A, C, O. Just focus on this. So the triangle looks like this. Let me draw it. The triangle is like this. The triangle, the orange one, is like this. And then the purple one, there is a purple color, that is like this. Okay, let me draw it even better. Okay, and let me just use this eraser. And let me change the color, the orange thing. Okay, it's not drawn to scale. Okay, so now what you are doing is this thing. This is 45 degrees. This is 10. This is 90. Okay, because this is a perpendicular, this is 90. And I'm interested in this D. So what can I use? Sine, cos, tan. Let me use sine of 45 degrees. That is D divided by 10. Sine of 45, I remember this value. You can use a calculator, 0.7071. That is D divided by 10. So therefore, D comes out to be 10 times 0.7071. That is 7.071 units. Got the idea? So that is how I've used trigonometry. 8 people for trigonometry, 7 for coordinate geometry, 4 for. So option 1, that thing is done. Option 2, let me draw the triangle again. So if I draw the triangle again, this is the green line. This is the orange line. This is the slope. This is y. This is x. Y is equals to negative x plus 10. Y is equals to mx plus c. gradient is -1 of the green line. This is the green line. Now the orange line is perpendicular. Orange is perpendicular to green. That is the symbol that I use. So remember, if two lines are perpendicular, we use the concept of negative reciprocal. So if we use the concept of negative reciprocal, so gradient of orange should be -1 divided by -1, which comes out to be +1. This one, the green line, the gradient is negative. This orange line, the gradient is +1 because of this thing over here, which is the perpendicular thing. Now the equation, this is a long way. The one is the best way. So now it's passing through the origin 0, 0. So we have 0, 0. We have the gradient +1. So the equation of orange line is y is equals to mx plus c. Y is equals to 1x plus 0. Therefore, the equation is y is equals to x. Got the idea? Now this is A, this is B, this is C. How can you find C? So now comes the concept of simultaneous equation. We have y is equals to x. We have y is equals to minus x plus 10. So solve simultaneously. X is equals to minus x plus 10. Makes sense? This thing is equals to y. This thing equals to y. In other words, they are equaling to one another. So therefore, 2x is equals to 10x comes out to be 5. The equation is y is equals to x. Therefore, y is also 5. So the coordinate of C is 5, 5. So far, so good. Now we have the origin, which is 0, 0. We have C, 5, 5. We have OC, that is the distance D. That is the distance from here till here, that is OC. So therefore, use the distance formula 0 minus 5 whole square, 0 minus 5 whole square, square root. That is 5 square, which is 25. This is 25 square root. That is square root of 50. That comes out to be 7.071 units. So now, which one is better? The trick put a moon over there. And then the other one, that is coordinate geometry. I call it CG. Put a tick mark over there. So moon instead, that is a star. Now first tell me which one is better. Just put that emoji over there. Trick, star, coordinate geometry, the tick mark. And then there is the third method. So now have a good look. The trick one, that was shorter, correct? The coordinate geometry one, that was longer. Method two, that was coordinate geometry. Method two, that is coordinate geometry and simultaneous equations. This one, method one, option one, that is trick. So people love trick more. And let me see. So I think only one person loved the coordinate geometry. Everyone else loved trick. Now let me tell you the final method. And that is this one. Method three. The method. And let me explain to you how this method works. अच्छा जी. So now हम लोग ये करते हैं. We draw a line like this. And this is linked with the very first part. This is y. This is a. This is 0, 10. This is b. This is 10, 0. This is x. And area of triangle, which is OAB. We already found it. That is half into 10 into 10. That comes out to be 50 square units. Now, what we can do is that we can find the length of AB. Length of AB. That you can use Pythagoras. That is 10 square, 10 square, square root. That comes out to be square root of 200. which is 14.14 units. That is the second step. Now, the third and the final step is this thing. That is this orange line. We are interested in the distance d. So now if you have to rotate your phone or your tablet, now this d is like the perpendicular. And this thing AB is like the base. Make sense? So now over here, what you have, let me share this page with you. Export this page as an image coming your way. So now if you do this thing, just hold for a second. Let the image reach my phone. And yes, I got it. And now sending it over to you people to have a look. Now, if I take D as the perpendicular, the base as AB, so now this distance is root 200. So the same, therefore, area of triangle, that is half into the new base, which is AB, and the new height, which is D. Area of triangle 50. This is half. AB square root of 200. There it is. And height is D. So therefore, 50 into 200 divided by square root of 200, that is equals to D. Use a calculator or use surds. D comes out to be 7.071, the same exact answer as before. That means one single question was done in three different ways. Method number one, that was using trigonometry. Method number two, that was using coordinate geometry and simultaneous equation of a line, and so on. And then last but not the least, that is method number three, that is using area of triangle formula in two different ways. And bottom line of the story is, in all of them, we found the value of D. So it's your choice. It's about thinking. Yes, third part was a bit out of the box, taken by surprise. I can truly understand it. That is the way that I teach. That is how AS level maths and A2 level maths is taught. This thing is that in coordinate geometry, we'll be using knowledge of trigonometry. We'll be using knowledge of simultaneous equations. We were using knowledge of area. We were using knowledge of area of triangle. We were using the distance formula. So different ways of doing the same thing. That is how we get this thing. So now this was the idea. And some few people, they have this funny emotion. I mean, yes, there are different ways of getting the same thing. Don't worry about it. If you are comfortable with trigonometry, just stick with trigonometry. But that is what P1 is all about. This is thinking out of box. So what I did was thinking out of the box. I made you think also. Of course, it will take time. Yes, that is what the transition course is over here. This is not the beginning of AS level. That is a separate course. This is the beginning of foundation course. So in foundation course, the first one, the lecture one, let me recap what we talked about. We talked about AS level maths. We talked about the two components, pure math 1 and S1. So S1 is not of concern at the moment. This is P1, this is S1, this is paper 1, this is paper 5. Then we talked about that what is the route that we will take. So we will take P1, S1 in the first year, and then either you can take P3, S2 in the next year, and then P3, M1 in the next year. And that is the most common route people take, because based upon S1, you can either do S2 or M1. If you do M1 in the first year, you're stuck. You don't have the chance of S2. Then I talked about this thing that everyone can study S2, and only science, physics students, they can study M1, and a lot of people nowadays are increasingly switching over to S2. S2 is very popular. M1 is there, but S2 is much more popular. And then we went over the syllabus of P1, and there were 8 topics, and every single topic is related to O level maths 4024 or IGCSE 0580. So that is the first class of this thing. And let me go all the way up. So now what we can do is that in the next class, we would be focusing on, I think, let me focus on your ultimate fear, that is 2D and 3D mensuration. What kind of questions come in? Then, of course, we'll be talking about a little bit of geometry, little bit of trigonometry. So let me focus a little bit on this in lecture number 2. So signing off for today. Nice meeting you all. Inshallah ta'ala, see you in the next class. Take care. Allah Hafiz.